Sales, marketing, RevOps, and customer success. It's sink or swim out there, and yesterday's strategies and tactics won't help you today. This is Revenue Today, and I'm your host, Jared Robin. Join me as we interview top revenue leaders in our community to learn what steps we could take right now to help you scale more effectively. Revenue Today is sponsored by RevGenius and RevRoom, and we're on a mission to build trusted spaces for curious revenue professionals who are collaborating on the future of B2B GTM. Hey, dear friends, welcome to another episode of Revenue Today. Today, I'm joined by a really exceptional woman who is the VP of Marketing at Jasper, Megan Keeney Anderson. Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm psyched to talk for a little bit.
I'm so psyched because as a user of Jasper and an avid fan of AI, I'm by far not the only one. It's going to be good to dive in and just understand some of the inner workings and learn from you. So thank you. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's come out. GTM as a whole is massive, and we'll talk about AI and GTM certainly. But I want to hear from you. You've been the VP of Marketing at HubSpot. You're now the VP of Marketing at one of the hottest, fastest growing companies in AI. Debunk a myth about GTM right now.
Yeah. All right. So here's one that I think is so common. And I if you're not doing this, congratulations. But I think most companies are doing this, which is you put all of your emphasis and all of your attention on net new revenue, right? And when asked the question of what's your expansion play within your customer base, what do what's your messaging to your customers? How are you upgrading them? How are you predicting their, future path with your company? You get crickets. And it's because it's like that relationship challenge that people have when they're dating. It's always like when the other person is like fresh and new, they're exciting. But then when they become like long-term and a customer, they're sort of forgotten about. And you really need distinct strategies for growth on both ends. I think far too many companies just forget to figure out how to grow within their existing customer base. And that's a much easier place to grow from than finding net new people. So my hands down advice whenever people ask is always do not forget about expansion within your customer base, especially for SaaS companies, especially for companies that have, both horizontal kind of expansion opportunity and then vertical where you can go up to a different tier, but you can also add things like seats or add-ons. So much opportunity within that existing customer base, and they already like you.
Why do you think the focus is net new? Because isn't a dollar worth a dollar? And you can make a very easy argument that a dollar you have is more profitable than a dollar to get.
I think because new logos are exciting to people. I think people care a lot about new logo counts on their company and how big, how many customers do they have and what's the latest success story and, what company did they just land that they wouldn't have been able to land 6 months ago. New buyers are just interesting, right? But it's really in your existing customer base where a lot of your growth and loyalty and fuel can come from.
Yeah. And it's not just adding a CS department, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that is, you nailed it. That is what people get wrong. They're like, marketing is geared towards new business and we'll figure out upgrades out of our CS team. Right. In our standard conversations, we'll see if people are ready to upgrade and we won't give them any marketing support, but they'll do it all through conversation and customer success, extraordinary people, extraordinary team. Think about how much better they could be if they had a marketing arm, attached to them. And so, that's really what happens is marketing leaders, they wait until they're Series B, Series C, much later stage to add in a customer marketing function. And frankly, we did this too at Jasper. It was not among our first hires. Thankfully, we do have a customer marketing leader now, but it should be earlier, I think, in your hiring. As soon as your customer base gets robust enough to be able to, be a revenue driver for you, you should have the strategy to match it.
Yeah. Mark Roberge, I interviewed him and he said something very interesting, and I'll bring the old HubSpot references. I'm sure he is wonderful, really smart. He was talking about CS, and now that we're on the NRR part of it, as success there or lack of churn, being a function of the AEs that brought the deal on, and how he compensated AEs, specifically the second deal, even more than the first. I guess the question is, like, how do you see all the departments working interchangeably to like prioritize this?
Yeah. Actually, I remember Mark Roberge when he was at HubSpot, his sales team, they used to get clawbacks if, you take kind of the incentive and the compensation away if the customer that was sold didn't last a certain amount of time. Right. And then it sounds like he's also recommending like adding in an additional reward if not only does a customer stick around, but they stick around and expand and upgrade, which makes all the sense in the world. I mean, I think that we think what you want to fight inside a go-to-market motion is just the natural instinct for every individual division to only solve for itself, right? They solve for the nearest goal that it has. So marketing, I'm going to solve for getting leads. I'm going to solve for getting signups. That is my goal. That's my domain. I'm going to stick in my lane, right? And it kind of doesn't matter what leads as long as I get the number. And then once I get the number, I'm going to hand it over to sales and they carry it on. There's a natural impulse of like just thinking in those boxes, and sales thinking like, I just got to close the deal. I got to close the deal, and then CS, poor CS at the end of the road, having to deal with the bad leads that marketing brought in and the bad deals that sales closed, and now having to nurture this customer and fight against churn, carry the bag basically for the rest of the teams. That happens not because people are bad people or because they're selfish or they don't think about their colleagues. It happens because the incentives or the incentive structure that we've set up and the goals that we have set up are very much tied within the division. So if you can do as Roberge just said, and certainly give your team, its primary goal, which is in your own function that you can fully control, but have a kicker goal, like a secondary goal that expands into the longer life cycle of the customer, that's worth having. And that will create a team that works better together. Because if you're in sales, you want to make sure that your CS counterpart is fully set up to give that customer the best possible onboarding, because if they don't, your numbers get hit. So I think that's just a natural thing that most go-to-market teams have to fight against. And you can fight against it culturally in that you make sure that your leaders are spending a lot of time together and that your teams are talking. You can fight against it structurally in terms of, hey, you embed everybody together in the same meetings, or you can do it in terms of the incentive model. And I think that's a nice triad to try to hit.
Yeah. And in my head, the KPIs was the biggest thing and being incentivized thereof. I'm curious what you all do from a KPI standpoint to encourage and double down on this fact.
Yeah. So for starters, everybody's goals ladder up to revenue. Now that revenue can come in many different formats, as I was saying. It can come in the expansion from the customer base. It can come in net new business. It can come in reductions to churn. But like everyone's goals will ladder up to that ARR number, right? Or it's actually, and like not just ARR brought in, but like net. And so that helps give you the framework. And then you can kind of boil that down to, okay, Angelica, on lead generation, your job is to generate this many sales qualified leads, because we know that this many sales qualified leads will turn into this many deals, will turn into this much revenue. That's how you contribute to that. then you can go to your content team and say, hey, your job is to get this much traffic because we know this much traffic converts into this many leads, et cetera. So I think it's a matter of giving everyone their own goals to own and their own KPIs, but making sure that there's a hinge that those KPIs hang on where they're all connected and, driving at the same bigger thing.
I love that. It's so important, and we're all motivated by money, but also our goals. And so it's essential. Now, a question that I've been hearing in some leadership conversations I've had, AI is a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's a new thing to be accountable for, I should say.
Yeah.
And, folks' boards are saying, like, how are you leveraging AI in your go-to-market strategy? Give them an answer once and for all to put that they could write down and go for it.
Yeah. So I think the answer is not like, oh, we're trying a bunch of different tools. I think the answer is, go-to-market leaders need to take a look at their strategies and, the way that they work as a team, and find the places in that workflow that are the heaviest, right? That create the greatest amount of friction, and develop like a pilot use case for your team where AI could help, right? So for some people that may be, wow, we've got to get up 100 web pages on our entire like integration community. AI can help there. For some people, it may be, we want to write, 5 blog posts a week, and we've got a team of 2. It could be sales emails, but find that specific use case first, and then figure out what are the right AI tools to help get that done, and do that proof of concept with that use case. So then you can go back to your board and say, yeah, we decided that we're going to use AI for the purposes of repackaging our blog posts into ebooks and social content and making distribution better for our campaigns. And so we ran a pilot. We got this results. We saw this amount in terms of time reduction. We saw the same or better results in terms of downloads and interaction with that content, et cetera. But always start with the strategy and not the technology. You don't just like plug in AI and hope things will be better. You got to be intentional about how you use it.
It's like using ChatGPT 4, asking them to come up with an original piece of content. Really good with the past, but you need to learn a bit more about it. Now, it feels like that's like a pretty sound strategy, but from an enterprise perspective, like 1,000+ employees, they really want to move the needle in a massive way with AI, and understood the content is not a massive needle, but like what are some other use cases or some examples that you've seen at that enterprise level, like people like really leveraging it?
Yeah. So enterprises need to think differently about AI. I am going to answer your question, but I want to talk a little bit about like the enterprise use case, because I think it's important. So there's a big difference between using AI in your enterprise and like toying around with it as an individual user to write rap lyrics about your dog, right? At the enterprise, you need first of all, you need security, right? And so there are differences in the platforms in terms of the amount of security and privacy that you have, that you need to have you need to understand those differences, and you need to have a set of standards for security in your use of AI across your company, like full stop. Secondly, for the enterprise, I think you need to make sure that you can truly like integrate AI in a reliable way into your workflows, so you can understand, you can rely on it. You can know it's going to be there. You can make sure that it's going to, be in the tools that you use and not just like a copy and paste deal, because you have to equip your whole team. And then finally, I think like the problem with most baseline AI tools right now, I'm like very passionate about this, is they're amazing. Like they're magical. They can string together incredible sentences, but the output,
and rock music lyrics for your dog.
Correct. Rock music lyrics for your dog in the style of Radiohead, like awesome stuff. But for business, the outputs can be pretty generic. And this is a problem for businesses because in a world where like content is commoditized and anyone can create tons of content, no matter the size of their team, like brand differentiation and brand personality and brand affinity, that stuff is going to matter more. Right. And so I think it's really important for an enterprise company that not only are you using AI, but that you've got an AI that can train on your brand voice and on your brand standards and on your, things like accessibility standards so that you can not only have speed, but you can have control as a, marketing leader or go-to-market leader of those companies. So that is my diatribe on enterprises and like why I think the needs are actually distinct and why it's okay, I think, for some of these enterprises to be taking a beat to figure out their approach to AI and not just immediately diving in. Now, your question was around use cases. I'll give you a couple. One of my favorite use cases of AI that doesn't get talked about that much is in my time at HubSpot, we became a global company. We talked a lot about being global, global first. So not just taking like the Americanized English language content and then just Google translating it to, German or Japanese or any of the other regions that we served. And in order to really be global first, we had a pretty intensive localization process that happened across anything that we put out, whether it was like a product launch or customer communications or the app itself, right? The way we change language inside the app for users. And it was a heavy lift. I mean, we're talking a team, dozens of people on the team, massive amounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars to localize all of that. One of the nice things about AI is it's not a dictionary. It's not a straight translation because it consumes language as it's written in language. It picks up things like local idioms and metaphors and phrases. And so it's a much more natural translation of content into different languages. Now, that to a company to be able to do that instantaneously and really quickly, and to do so in a reliable way, that's a massive cost savings, time savings, and ideally it means that you can open up to new markets more quickly, right? Like the number of times that we haven't gone into a market, the companies haven't gone into a market because, we don't have the resources yet to hire out a full team in market to do that well. This helps with that. Now, I want to be really clear. This does not mean we do not need localization staff. We absolutely will need localization teams to usher that process, to make sure it's right, to fine tune it, but they're going to be able to do a lot more with a lot less time and a lot less money.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you know roughly the amount of people it took and the amount of time it took, if you know the money or not, but to make that happen? And then how would that compare in your estimates, doing it AI driven?
I mean, at HubSpot, we had I'm trying to remember. I think we had a localization team of, let's say it was between half a dozen to a dozen people in-house. And then they worked with contractors and or agencies, localization agencies outside of HubSpot. And those numbers could have been, in the scores of people, to be their full operation, right? So they would sort of run it in-house, contract it out, use services to do that first pass, have eyes, native eyes on the ground to sort of check it. And they moved, they had it down to a system. But it just by nature of having to pass through that many people and, just the volume of content, it was time consuming. So that's about the amount of people we had. And then, for dollars, I know the dollars. I don't feel like I don't want to, reveal what HubSpot was spending on localization. So I probably won't share them.
Was this pre-public company where it wasn't out there?
It was not pre-public company. So I also, but yeah, I mean, it's significant. They're not small dollars.
And what other examples do you have like that are some cool use cases?
I have a marketing bias because that's my background. And I think about what I love is like, if I'm rebranding the entire website, doing a complete end-to-end, what we call a tier 1 launch, I can now spin up like the starter assets for an entire launch in 5 minutes. Like it's insane. I'm going from, a month-long process of generating blog posts and video scripts and, full social calendars for not just the brand, but all the executives, to being able to do that in a matter of minutes to get that starter collection of content. Now, again, we need to go back in and make the tweaks and like make sure that it all fits and then, do the finishing touches on it. But that kind of like acceleration of an end-to-end campaign is really meaningful to me. I think when you get outside of like the content generation side of things for AI, you look at like AI agents, the amount of like being able to consume enormous amounts of data and then visualize it very quickly, that can really help open up insights for companies and is a good use case of AI. Summarization. I think Slack just introduced their AI tool. I don't think it's out yet, but they announced it.
Yeah.
Where you'll have the ability to, like we've all experienced in Slack, having just like an endless thread of a conversation that you joined too late. You'll have the ability to quickly summarize that. So it's really going to seep into every single aspect of how we create, interact, consume, make judgment calls. And so if you can think of a use case, there's probably an AI approach to it. And that's what I think people talk about, like, why, God, I'm so sick of hearing people talk about AI. It's all anybody talks about anymore. That's that feeling, like, I get it, but like, that's why people are talking about it so much, is that like, this is actually going to dramatically change the way that ordinary everyday things happen in businesses.
Like as a marketer, are you going to be able to say, look at your CRM or input that you want to create a fine-tuned ICP based on the quickest deals closed matrix with the highest ACV, and you want to find what's in your CRM that you're not focused on to put it out there, and then look in the World Wide Web for things that aren't even in your CRM that should be in there? Is that like, yes. Is that coming? Like, well, there's actually a product next week that does just that.
Yeah, no, that's here. I mean, like, yes, the short answer is yes. And so, how well that all works will get, developed over time, and we'll get better and better. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of power we're talking about here in terms of the ability to consume, present differently, create, distribute, optimize, like end to end. There's a role for this. Now, with that comes great responsibility. I think it underscores the importance of like having critical thinking, thoughtful, strategic people, customer focused people, brand focused people on your staff to make sure that you're using that well, right? Because just a piece of technology, just like the internet itself, like it can be used to create incredible things, to accelerate innovation at incredible rates. It can also be used to do to put a bunch of drivel out on the internet and to do horrible things as well. And so I think AI doesn't become extraordinary until we do, right? And so we have to step up as go-to-market leaders to make sure that we're thinking about the broader context of what we're doing, and we're not just taking shortcuts because we're lazy. And that with the time that we get back, that we're reinvesting that into the business in meaningful ways.
I love that. And we don't even need to go tangential on the AI agency that'll be in the government and stuff. That's coming. The question is Elon Musk and Sam Altman on it? Probably not, but they probably have input on who is.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the testimony earlier this week with Sam Altman, like, I think that there is this technology is developing at a very fast pace, a pace that we have not seen in quite some time. It's all relative. There'll be something that outpaces this in the future, but like it's moving and it's moving now. We
hit 1 million users in like 5 days, I think, or something. Like
it's
something ridiculous.
I don't know the exact numbers, but and even just not even just the user count, but just like the actual capacity of the technology is getting better and better and better. And we have not yet seen, because it's harder, like we have not yet seen the pace of like public policy thought and regulation thought match that. It's happening. Like there are really brilliant minds in government and nonprofit and businesses themselves that are working on this problem, but the paces are off, right? So we do need, and I think Sam Altman was underscoring this even in his testimony this week of like, everybody wants a focus on this, whether you're business side or, or a user or government. Like we need to make strides here and we need to make them pretty quickly.
It's an exciting time. Now I'm curious, going back to the GTM, like what are some challenges as an AI company going to market that, and you could take the AI out, right? Like, that you're seeing that's like keeping you up at night.
Well, a big one is, so most of marketing, and again, I apologize for the marketing bias. It's what I grew up in.
It's awesome.
But, most of marketing is about like figuring out and developing acquisition channels. So finding channels that will bring people into your websites and then optimizing your site so that people will convert and sign up, right? That's a lot of what marketing is. The channel mix and the varying influence of each channel is about to change significantly because of AI. So Google just revealed a couple weeks ago how they're going to bring AI into their search engine results page. And that's going to have massive implications for organic, i.e. search traffic, as a acquisition channel. And the part that keeps you up at night is it's not yet entirely clear. We know what it's going to look like, but it's not yet entirely clear what that's going to mean for traffic back into websites. And so if I'm a go-to-market leader right now, and I am, just so happens, I'm spending a lot of time thinking about diversifying my acquisition sources and finding new ones to help compensate for any changes and unpredictability that may be ahead in terms of search behavior, acquisition from search, et cetera.
What channels are you hedging with? Like where's your mind at? Of course, use diversity away from there, but spill the tea.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about multiple channels. It's also about just like understanding what's happening in search. So there's let me talk a little bit about where I feel like Google search is going, and Bing is doing the same thing in a slightly different way. But, I think search is going to be a chat dominated experience, right? You will ask the question, you will get it answered in conversation with an AI, right? Beneath that search experience, you'll still see organic kind of links to websites to sort of support that query and response. So those blue links aren't going away, but they are going to be harder to secure. Because when you think about like the real estate of a search engine results page right now, it's 90% blue links and like a little bit of like FAQ boxes and snippets, but it's mostly links. I think that's going to reduce drastically. But new search vehicles are going to get added. So one of the things that Google introduced is this idea of pulling in more multimedia in the results, and then also perspectives content. And so, for example, when you search for a topic, you will get the generative AI response. You'll get the ad clicks, placements. You'll get a couple of organic results. And then you'll also get perspective content, which could be like, hey, people on Reddit say this, or here's a TikTok video answering that question. That's not AI related, but that is a new shift that Google is making that to me says, I would invest in, user generated content. I would invest in, I'm going to say influencer, and then I'm going to underscore that I do not mean like Hollywood influencer or like, depending on what your company is. I mean like micro influencers in your field, your customers. I would invest in them because they're going to suddenly be as influential on a search engine results page as the website that you poured your heart into. So I do that. I think that I would, everything old is new again. I would invest in brand. Like in a time where like information gets commoditized, content gets commoditized because everybody can churn it out really quickly. I think, brand voice and brand affinity is going to matter a lot. Like,
wasn't it always important? I guess people just found channels that were faster and easier and more direct line attribution.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been important, but it's like for a while, I don't mean to knock it because it was actually a pretty powerful thing. Like the cool thing about early internet and like early search results is by optimizing a blog post and putting the right answer in place with zero ad dollars. This actually used to be the early promise of HubSpot. Like with zero ad dollars, you could compete. If you were a no-name brand, you could compete on the same level as like Procter & Gamble or as, Nike, if you answered the question that in the right way. And I think that like you didn't have to spend a bunch of dollars building up your brand, doing brand awareness, advertising, because you answered the question best and you answered it first, right? That part, I think the performance marketing is the balance is shifting a little bit where I think that first of all, it's going to be harder to answer that question first because, there's not going to be any space on the search engine result pages. But then also like, in a world where like generative AI is answering most questions, having a brand that can kind of break through that where people hear from word of mouth, or they just had a good experience, like that's going to be more powerful.
When are we going to operationalize word of mouth?
I have great thoughts on operationalizing word of mouth.
I mean, as a community leader,
yeah.
And I don't want to go too tangential, but community sits above inbound, outbound, nearbound, tomorrowbound, whatever, right? Community is not another strategy, although companies look at it that way. In my humble opinion, I think it's an output from culture. Mm-hmm. And above that, society. So it's like more like getting towards the meta level of that. Mm-hmm. But people, in regards to go to market, word of mouth, it's just the dark funnel. It's dark social. It's whatever. Like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if you think about community as a channel, and I know it's more than a channel, but most channel owners, whether it's search or community, you have to invest some of your time into growing and building that channel so it's healthy. And you invest some of your time. So basically, you invest some of your time into putting value into that channel, and then you invest some of your time into extracting value from that channel. And you never want that balance to be off. And, the parallel in search is you put value into search by creating content for search queries that are underserved. And then you extract value by optimizing the clicks off of that and the conversion points off of that. in community. You put value into that community by investing in the people and building the connections and the experience that's going to make that community literally grow and make it more active, right? A healthier community. And you extract values by doing so by like at the right moment and at the right time, leveraging that community for your business. And so I think like in some ways I hate to boil it down to a channel because it's people, not just like pages on the internet. But if you do think about it as a channel,
every channel is people, is how they're behaving or how you're going and grabbing them.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good correction. Like, I think it helps frame the approach a bit and also helps frame the importance, because the reason I do that is because a lot of people think about community and they think about it as this like squishy thing. And they're just like, it's nice to have. We do social. We have Facebook groups. Like things are happening out there, and they don't think about it as a strategic thing. And so in the long run, they actually undercut community. You know, the community manager is the first to be out the door, or the least, lowest funded or what have you. Like, and that's a mistake if it's a strategic channel. Like when we hired someone to lead content and community, at Jasper, like it was very important to me that they report directly into the leadership team. Like they report directly into me. They're not like 2 degrees down, that they thought about this as a strategy. And so I looked for that kind of leadership in who we hired. We've ended up with a great community leader, but that's a bit of a tangent. But I do think that like companies are going to need to invest in community because they're going to have more power, right? And I think they're going to get more measurable. There's lots of tools out there now that are making it easier to measure. You can speak to,
I'm advising one now, and I keep giving them feedback. I'm like, all you have to do is partner with Slack. And then I'm thinking like, well, there might be some difference there. You partner with the tools that integrate with Slack that get out sentiment, get out all of this, no problem. Yeah. And figure out how people, assuming that the community is in Slack or Discord or a third-party tool.
Yeah. We were talking about this yesterday too, around like, there's all sorts of different types of communities. So just like there's different social channels and different like paid channels, there's different types of channels within the community channel. Your employees are a community, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you invest in your employees and their belief and experience and understanding of your company so that you can leverage, their voices in a mutually beneficial way, like when you've got an announcement to make or when you're trying to bring people in? How do you equip them, right? So one of the, I'll go back to an AI use case that I like is by getting our entire community, our entire employee base into Jasper, when I have a product announcement, I can go into Jasper and put a blurb in about what is the product announcement that we're rolling out as a brand voice, a memory inside Jasper. And then and we can notify the company. And then whenever they're on their social platforms, they can use Jasper right within the platform to pull up an original, piece of, and like co-write an original piece of content about that announcement that's in their voice, but talks about our product. And to do that at scale, right? So imagine every member of a 6,000 person company being able to do that. That's sizable, right? We think about reach, like your employee base sometimes has enormous reach. And then you do the same with your most loyal customers. You do the same, in your broader community plays. And then you don't worry so much if Google's sending you less organic traffic because you've got a force.
I always laugh when I go on to LinkedIn Sales Navigator and I'm looking at people like different companies that like I've saved when they have a product announcement, and you could see like 1 to 2 engagements on each. And these are big companies from everybody. And it's just like copy and paste the same thing. And I'm like, this is
that's a mistake.
You could argue very easily that them doing nothing might be neutral at worst, probably better.
Yeah. It's really funny. I'll give you an example from inside Jasper. I'm going to have to tell her I'm talking so much about her, but this woman, Meredith, who runs our content and community strategy.
I'd love to meet her. We'd probably get along.
Yeah. we had a big product launch. We had a launch that had Jasper brand voice, which is the ability to like train off your brand. We had this video that we were really proud of that woman, Brie, on our video team had created. And it's incredible, like awesome video. And my instinct, like, I'll be honest, my initial instinct was, let's get every member of this company that video and have them push that video out. And Meredith rightly pushed back on me and was like, that is going to look like a wall of spam on social channels because we're all going to do it at the same time. We're all going to, like, if they have a video, they're not going to write anything original. They're just going to say, you know, a line about the video. And it's just going to interrupt people in their day. And they're not going to have a good experience with the video. And countered with another way to do it, which is let's make it easy for everybody to write their own personal take on this launch. 100% the right call.
I can't wait until you have a team of 100, 200, 2,000 and they do their own videos each.
That's cool. Yeah.
There's some tools that are like, with that now, yeah. Like they're okay. The reason why they're like, okay, is because like the video is small and it actually like looks like they're actually saying it and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But like, even if, yeah, the more authentic it could look, because at the end of the day, the posts that perform the worst in social are the copy and paste, are the promotional posts of the brand. I don't have the data behind that outside of seeing it.
There is data though, like text does better. You know,
for sure.
LinkedIn penalizes links, like those sorts of things.
So, you know, what's interesting, like in going into like in my head, how Jasper uses Jasper, does Jasper also take in like a full feedback loop with that, like how it performed so that it could recalibrate, so to speak, like, and how would it do that? Because LinkedIn doesn't have an API that's easy, maybe Twitter, but like, I'm curious.
It's very possible to do it. It's a direction we're heading in. It is not something that we have today.
I mean, then you'd be every social media person's best friend ever. You're close to it already without that.
We are very aware of the need and pain point there. So I'm not going to like reveal our product roadmap, but it's definitely something that a problem we're excited to solve.
I love that on Revenue Today exclusive rollout.
But I didn't give you a timeline. I've learned my lesson there. I don't give timelines.
Oh, let's think logically here. Q3 is a wash. No, just kidding. How do you use AI outside of Jasper? This is what I'm curious. I have no doubt. I mean, you gave a couple examples there of how you use it, but what else are you using, or how else are you using it?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, inside Jasper, we use, video and audio editing AI. So like Descript has a great audio. I think Riverside actually probably has some audio and video editing.
We use Jasper. Like after this, the takeaways will be done by Jasper. I promise.
Awesome. Very cool. Oh, that makes me
we're supporters.
Love it. That's great. we love that use case of like, how do you take an audio, translate it or transcribe it, and then turn it into a bunch of other promotional. But I love, a bunch of these podcasting, tools now will put together, like they'll use AI to recommend, hey, this bit of the podcast was really good. And so we've gone ahead and made a 15-second cut for a social promo of your podcast using this soundbite. I love that kind of thing because that's time intensive.
Can we pull a quote out too?
Yeah, you can pull out quotes, all that stuff. So we'll use that internally. We use all the Otter does good kind of meeting summaries based on AI that are getting really good. So you don't have to be taking notes as much, or if you miss a meeting, it helps it with remote. Personally, outside of Jasper,
can you hook Jasper up to like a Google Sheet and make it Otter?
You can hook Jasper up to a Google Sheet. We just announced a partnership with Google where it'll be an add-on. It's going to be, I'm telling you,
this add-on with Google, how different is this? Does this eliminate the need for Otter, like for your team? Like you could just have Google Sheet and just why not?
Yeah. I mean, Otter's got good tricks up its sleeve too. I think that this time is just like bursting with innovation and new ideas. And so like, I would not count a single company out right now. I would also not say that any company has it locked up. And I think that that's really good for the space. Like, I think that, people talk about like, oh, is like every company's going to get into AI and there's so much competition now. And like, my personal take on it is like, yeah, we're all going to be just like lapping each other like back and forth again and again. And that's good for innovation. So I don't know. I kind of welcome that time, assuming that we can continue to surf it and end up on top. But yeah, I think Otter's going to do great things too.
You bring up a good point. How could AI fail? Like we've seen things on top of the moon, Ethereum, but like, how could we, how do we know AI is going to be around? What are some vulnerabilities in like just the absorption of it across the market and stuff? Yeah.
Well, so I think like there's how can AI fail, and then how will companies that are AI companies fail? I think that whenever there's like major advancement like this, there's always like a burst of companies that come up around it. And then there's a consolidation that happens. That's just a natural flow that happens. So I think like some AI consolidation will happen. AI companies that started, will realize that what they built is really just like a single use case and not truly a company. And you'll have companies that fail in AI, right?
Yeah.
No one is protected from that. Like, we're very painfully aware of like, we need to keep innovating to stay in this game. As far as AI, the technology, how it can fail. So I think you have to begin with the fact that it is deeply flawed from the get-go. Like, AI was built by absorbing like, just massive amounts of content and data, and that's how it learns. In that data that it's absorbed, it means that it's inherently biased. It's absorbing all the biases that we have. Yeah. It's inherently underrepresentative because no matter how big the slice, like you're still making a choice about what you're including and not. And so I think that like, I get very concerned about us relying too heavily on AI for very important life altering decisions. Like, does this person get a loan or not? Does this person get, what's the right like healthcare route for this individual? Things that are really, truly important. I think that we need to be really careful about an over-reliance on AI and make sure that certainly use AI as an accelerant to sort of help get to decisions faster, but make sure that people are not only like in the room, but like equipped to watch for the places that AI can fail. That's one. I think there's a whole field, and this is longer than we have time in the podcast, but there's a whole push right now by a bunch of people who sort of built the beginnings of AI to like make AI more explainable. So right now, I remember hearing a quote from an anonymous source that said like AI is more like a petri dish than it is a math equation, in that we don't always know how it got to the conclusion that it got to. So there's a big push right now to build more explainability into AI. We should be able to root back the decisions that AI made to get to that conclusion, and we can't today. Yeah. I think that could be a point of weakness or failure for it in the future. I think that explainability is important. It's very hard to do. We have to figure out how to do it.
But what excites you about the future of AI?
I mean,
what excites you about the future, period, I should say. We could take it anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a tech optimist. I think that we need to not it's back to that point of like, I get immediately skeptical about people that are too fearful of technology, and I get immediately skeptical about people who are too like enamored with it. And so I guess I'm probably more like a tech realist, but I have a bent towards optimism. I think that if we use this technology well, or any piece of technology well, it can open up tremendous opportunity. I think I guess I'm a tech realist and a human optimist is probably the best way to say that.
I like that.
I think we can do this. Like, I think it's going to take stepping up for all of us. I think we need to own the responsibility that we have. But in many ways, like, the only thing that's ever really held back our best ideas has been our ability to like convey them and execute them at scale. And so you think about, the founder who has an incredible idea, but is awful at pitching that idea because maybe English isn't their first language, or they're not great communicators. And so that idea doesn't get funding or sits on a shelf. If AI can help that person communicate better, maybe that idea gets funded. Maybe that's world changing, right? So I like AI's capacity to open up opportunity. I also think there are ways in which AI will, without being checked, will hurt, and will create problems that we'll need to address, that we already need to address. So that's my blended answer of like tons of opportunity, but also we got work to do.
Let's end on the tons of opportunity, change the world, happy vibes. Megan, how can folks get in touch with you?
I am just Megan at Jasper. I'm still active on Twitter. You'll pry Twitter out of my cold hands. So I'm just Meg H. Keeney on Twitter, LinkedIn, all the normal places. You can find me.
Thanks so much for such an awesome conversation. It's really been humbling to speak with you.
Oh God, likewise. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. And everybody, thank you for listening. This has been another awesome episode of Revenue Today. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much again for your time, Meg.
All right. See you later.
Thank you, friends, for joining me. That was another great episode of Revenue Today. If you're looking to listen to more episodes or for the show notes, go to RevGenius.com. For all my friends in the RevGenius community, it was awesome to spend this time with you. Please DM me any feedback or ideas for future podcasts in our Slack channel or on LinkedIn. If you're not in RevGenius, join us. It's RevGenius.com. It's free and it's fast to join, and really for all levels of revenue professionals. For senior leaders, we just launched a private community just for you called RevRoom. We know it gets lonely out there, and we've built a tight-knit group of senior leaders collaborating on the future of B2B go-to-market. Looking forward to seeing you all there.